Imagine this. Every morning, you wake up thinking you know what's going on in the world. You scroll through the headlines, you hear the speeches.
Today, the violence and destruction comes to an end.
You watch the interviews, you think you're making your own judgments. But what if I told you that the way you think, feel, and even react to events might have been planted there, carefully, quietly, by invisible hands working behind the scenes? We're talking about propaganda, but not the old black and white wartime posters you've seen in history books. No, this is modern propaganda, digital, sophisticated, invisible, and it's happening right now, all around you. Today we're going deep into the hidden propaganda tactics governments are using today, how they shape what you believe, how they distort your reality, and how they keep you thinking exactly what they want you to think without you even realizing it. The new face of propaganda. In the past, propaganda was blunt. Governments printed posters, played patriotic songs, and gave fiery speeches to whip up national pride or fear. It was obvious, almost cartoonish by today's standards. But now, it's different. Propaganda has gone undercover. Instead of telling you directly what to think, it guides you, subtly, invisibly. Governments no longer just speak at you. They shape the environment you live in so that you naturally come to the right conclusions. For example, instead of announcing that an enemy is dangerous, they flood your feed with carefully selected news stories, influencer posts, and viral clips that make you feel uneasy about that enemy. No one says outright, hate them. Instead, the message seeps into your subconscious until you already feel the way they want you to. This shift from overt propaganda to covert psychological influence is why modern propaganda is so dangerous. You can't fight something you can't see. It's not a screaming headline anymore. It's a whisper in the background of your daily life, controlling the narrative through information flooding. One of the most powerful tools in modern propaganda is information flooding, overwhelming people with so much data, so many updates, and so many contradictory facts that the truth becomes almost impossible to find. It works like this. Instead of hiding a story, they bury it. Let's say a government makes a controversial decision. Instead of censoring the news, they pump out hundreds of distracting headlines, side stories, and sensational scandals until your mind is overloaded. The truth is technically out there, but buried under a mountain of noise. Even more sinister is narrative framing. Governments will release official statements first, before independent reporters can investigate. That first version of events plants the seed in your mind. Later corrections might be more accurate, but by then, your brain has already decided what's true. Studies in cognitive psychology show that the first story you hear becomes your mental baseline, and every update afterward is judged against it. So by getting their version out first and flooding the space with endless updates and chatter, they make sure their version sticks, even if it's not true. Emotional manipulation as a weapon. If you think propaganda is about facts, think again. It's about emotions. People rarely make decisions based purely on logic. We're driven by fear, pride, anger, and hope. Governments know this, and they use it relentlessly. Want people to support a war? They don't bombard you with policy details. They show you gut-wrenching images, tragic stories, and headlines designed to trigger outrage. Your emotional brain kicks in long before your rational brain can fact-check. Social media algorithms amplify this by rewarding emotional content. The more shocking, the more viral. Governments have learned to work with these algorithms, sometimes even using fake accounts or friendly influencers to seed emotional stories that push their agenda. It's not about whether the story is true. It's about whether it makes you feel something strong enough to make you act, vote a certain way, protest, or demand a particular policy. Manufacturing enemies and heroes. Another old trick in a modern rapper is creating villains and heroes. Every government needs a bad guy to unite people against and a good guy to rally behind. The enemy could be a foreign nation, a political faction, or even an idea. The hero could be a leader, a military force, or a national ideal. By carefully curating stories, governments make sure these roles are crystal clear. For example, they might constantly highlight crimes committed by a rival nation while ignoring similar issues at home. Or they might frame certain leaders as visionary and selfless while painting their opponents as corrupt or dangerous. Over time, the narrative becomes so ingrained that questioning it feels almost unpatriotic. What's powerful here is that once you've decided who's good and who's bad, your brain filters all new information through that lens, making the propaganda self-sustaining. Digital blackouts and algorithmic censorship. One of the most terrifying modern tools is algorithmic censorship. Unlike old-school censorship, where something was clearly banned, this version hides in plain sight. Instead of deleting a video or article, Platforms simply stop showing it to you. Search results are tweaked, timelines are reordered, and shadow bans are applied so that dissenting voices become almost invisible without anyone admitting it's happening. Governments often don't need to run these platforms directly. They just pressure tech companies through laws, incentives, or subtle threats. The result? You think you're seeing the whole conversation, but in reality, it's been filtered to fit the preferred narrative. Even worse, algorithms can be used proactively, showing you more of the content that supports the government's position while burying content that challenges it. This isn't just hiding the truth, it's rewriting your sense of reality, the subtle art of controlled opposition. Perhaps the most genius and disturbing tactic is controlled opposition. This is when a government secretly funds or supports a group that appears to be against them, but is actually working to control dissent. By creating a fake opposition, they can guide and contain the anger of the people. The group might rally against certain issues, but never cross the real red lines. They give the illusion of choice, of democracy, of freedom, while keeping everything within safe, predictable limits. It's like a chess game where both sides are being played by the same person. You think you're fighting the system, but the system has already decided the rules and the outcome. Why? You rarely see it coming. The brilliance of modern propaganda is that it doesn't feel like propaganda. It feels like your own opinion. You don't feel brainwashed. You feel informed, confident, even rebellious, not realizing that the path you're walking was paved for you long before you took your first step. This is why awareness is dangerous for them. The moment you start asking, where did this belief come from? Who benefits from me thinking this way? You start to see the cracks in the illusion. Propaganda isn't about turning you into a mindless follower. It's about making you believe you're free while quietly shaping every decision you make. It's invisible, patient, and deeply psychological. But here's the thing. Awareness is your first weapon. Once you know these tactics exist, you can start to see them in action. You can question that viral video. You can check the source of that breaking news. You can resist the emotional pull of stories designed to control you. In a world where the battle for your mind never stops, the simple act of asking, "Why am I being told this?" might be the most revolutionary thing you can do.